Aloha, I'm Reverend Tim Lytle, Senior Minister here at Unity Church of Hawaii in Honolulu. And we are so grateful for all of you who watch us on our YouTube channel. We know with you that as you view these teachings and apply them to your lives, that it helps to build your life into the very best one that can be imagined. If you're ever in the area, please come and join us for a service, and please enjoy the message that you're about to watch. Aloha.
We're looking today at the power of memories. This is Memorial Day weekend. Here is an older picture of Diamond Head. Remember the day? Some of you may. And, before it was all built up with hotels and everything. The power of memory. Memory is very important because memory helps us to know where we came from. Memory helps us to know about those people who have influenced and touched our lives. Each one of us are the composite, the integration, the influence of many, many different souls who have touched our lives. And they have surrounded us and blessed us on our journey, and they continue to. Now, some people may not think of it that way. They may think that once someone has gone physically, that that's the end of it. But we know that there is no end in spirit. My favorite quotation from the Course in Miracles is this: that nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Our love, our connection with others is something real, and nothing can destroy that. Nothing can take that away. I want to share with you from Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1. There we go. Therefore, since we have such a great cloud of witnesses surrounding us, let us run with endurance the race set before us. So the cloud of witnesses, the word for witnesses there is the same word from which we get the word martyr. Okay? And that word for surrounding doesn't mean like they're just in the grandstand saying, yeah, you go, Donna. Or like, yeah, go get him, Ralph. No. When I looked at this word, it literally means to be wrapped around, like clothing. They're surrounding us always. What you may not realize is that this room is packed right now. Packed with many witnesses who walk with you, who are there with you. I've had, someday I'll tell you about all my spiritual journey. But at one point, I became very involved in the Catholic Church, became a Benedictine, and when I was going through the rite of Christian initiation for adults, RCIA, which is like the training, the catechism, they told me anybody can be your saint, Tim. It can be a family member. It can be someone close to you. It doesn't have to be someone that's recognized by the church. It can be anyone who's an influence in your life. And that's what this passage is talking about, that these influences walk with us. Yes, they continue to live on in us, and they continue to surround us and guide us and strengthen us. I've had numerous awakenings. In the last couple of weeks, I've had another awakening. And I recognize that sometimes I hold some things back because I wasn't always sure how it would be received. And in this most recent awakening, I realized that I no longer cared how it was received. and that I should just be fully who I am. As should, I think, all of us. That's what we're here to do, right? And so, with that in mind, I'll just share openly some things. So this last week, some people who made their transition years ago came to me. My grandparents, my dad, pastors that I had as I was growing up to give me their blessing. I had interactions with them, had time loving one another. For me, it's very, very natural. Now, I'm not expecting you to have that. If that doesn't come naturally to you, that's fine. You don't have to seek it out. But sometimes I've had people going through the grief process who've talked to me in very hushed, whispered tones and have told me, and I can see them looking at me to see what my reaction is going to be. My loved one showed up and talked to me. And I go, yeah? What they say, and then they're surprised that I'm not surprised. And not all funerals, but most celebration of life services that I have performed, not always. Again, it happens very naturally. Many times, the people for whom I'm doing the service, the departed, has come to me, has talked with me, has shared with me what they want shared in the service. Usually they're pretty peaceful. Sometimes not. I told one young man, I said, your mom showed up, and man, was she angry. Wow, she was wild. And I was telling him about all she said, and he said, yep, that's Mom. We are surrounded, wrapped around by these loved ones. It's not the end. So it's not like I'm claiming to be able to talk with the dead. I'm saying they're not dead. I'm saying they're still alive. They're in a different dimension. They're in a different state or phase of their life experience, but they're not dead. So on Memorial Day weekend, we are honoring all of those people who have influenced our lives, because when we honor them, we are also honoring ourselves. Because all of those people who have come into our lives have influenced our lives and helped to make us who we are. So when we honor them, we're honoring us. We're honoring who we've become because of their influence. And some of them were difficult to deal with. Some of them, have you ever been with somebody who prayed some mate, some spouse into their life, and then sometime later they were praying that spouse out of their life? All of those people have left an influence which has helped to make us who we are. I want to share this Hawaiian phrase with us. Thank you. E hanai ava a ikaika ka makani. This is not... Sorry? I can't hear you. What did I say? Okay. Thank you. I was looking for Francine today. My Hawaiian language expert couldn't find her. Okay, feed with ava so that the spirit may gain strength. Ava is a spiritual plant, has numerous qualities, medicinal properties, can also be used as a sedative. One offers ava and prayers to the dead so that their spirits may grow strong and be a source of help to the family. So it's part of Hawaiian culture as well. Many cultures have this. the whole notion of going to the grave and decorating the grave, which a lot of people do, and I used to do every year with my mom. We'd go to my father's grave and to other family members' graves, as well as some of our family who served in the military, and decorate their graves. That goes back to a tradition of really nurturing that connection, that oneness with those people and celebrating them. So this Memorial Day weekend is really about honoring those people, honoring how they have touched our lives, how they continue to be an influence in our lives. So, I want us to think about a few people who have been a part of this spiritual community. Now, I don't think we have Patricia Kubak's picture up here, but we honor Patricia. And Mary Bacon, don't have her picture, but we'll be honoring her this coming Saturday. But Fred Ball, Professor Fun, who used to sit back here about where Sondra and Rodney are, somewhere back there, and holding up the sign, "Let it snow," somewhere else. Then Roddy Eric Butler, who was the head of the World Peace Plan and also our Ho'opono ministry with the homeless here. Very young man who had intended to run for governor this current election. Roy Chun, artist. Some of you have seen Roy's artwork, and amazing person. Yesterday, some of us gathered to plant a tree. It's right over here. You can see it later, over by what used to be the Deja Vu space, to plant a tree in honor of J.R. Coleman. And here's a picture of me with J.R. as we are working outside. And here's my friend David Land. I grew up in First Church of the Nazarene in Wichita, Kansas. It's a large church, and there were some families that my family was particularly close to. One of them was the Land family. And this is David. He was born around the same time as my brother, who's closest in birth order to me. David is a friend, and he was always very kind to me, always very loving to me. I was this younger kid, but he always had time for me. And I heard about this war that was starting, called the Vietnam War. And you can see his smile, wonderful person. And he loved animals. He wanted to, as I remember, he wanted to become an animal doctor and work with animals. And he loved people, and he would do anything for people. He was one of the most loving people I've ever met in my life. So, he got drafted, or did he join? I'm trying to remember. But went to the Vietnam War. And I remember as a kid, as his friend, thinking, trying to wrap my head around the idea of someone going off to war. Someone going to some far place around the world and putting themselves in danger. I wondered about how could a person with so much love, how could a person with so much compassion, How could a person with so much intelligence go off to war? It was hard for me, and so myself, my mom, my family, others in the church would pray for him. And as a kid, I tried to picture what Vietnam looked like. And I tried to picture David surrounded in the love of God. I tried to picture him protected and loved. And I wanted him to know that we loved him so much and that we were sending our love. And I was often asking my mom about him for updates about him. And she would give me updates, and she would tell me the different areas he was in. And she told me he became a cook on a ship. And she said, so I think he's in a safer place as being the cook on the ship rather than right on the front lines. It wasn't long after that came home one day, and my mom said their boat was going down a river, and some bomb or missile hit the boat, and that David was killed. And I couldn't wrap my head around it. I thought, but he's loving, he's intelligent. We're praying for him every day. How could God possibly allow that to happen? It didn't make sense to me. And at the time, no one really had time to help me with my questions about it. People were dealing with their own grief. And I looked at the adults, they seemed to be functioning, and I thought, how do they function? How do they do this? Evidently, they understand something about this that I don't. I thought, when I become an adult, I'm going to understand this. But I don't. I don't understand it. Some of you have lost loved ones. Some of you have lost loved ones in the service. Or you know somebody who has. Some of you have lost somebody very close to you. But they're still with you. Remember, they're surrounding you. Their arms are wrapped around you. You're never alone. As a chaplain in the hospital, sometimes I have worked with families who wanted to protect their children from death and didn't want to explain to them what was happening and did not want to tell them. And I worked with those families and worked with those children because it's a part of life. It's a mistake to think that we aren't touched by this. It's a mistake to think that we are not touched by our grief. It's a mistake to think that we need to just forget and move on. And yeah, we're so used to watching the evening news, we pass the salt and pepper to the news of deaths around the world. We become desensitized. Memorial Day weekend is an opportunity to become sensitized, to experience what we feel, to honor the memory and the love that we have with our loved ones, to honor our service people. I was never in the military. I was in the draft. I had to register for the draft. My number was like 280 something. Those of you who know about the draft know that's kind of a late number. I want us to be holding all of our service people in prayer, to be holding our world and all the people of our world in prayer, and to be holding in prayer all of those who have lost loved ones, some of them recently. Right where we are, not only the presence of God is, but our loved ones are. That love surrounds us, walks with us. They're with us always. There's great power in acknowledging what our feelings are. There's great power in acknowledging our memories, because our memories are part of who we are, as part of our gift to the world. And it occurs to me that a lot of people here don't know what a gift you are to the world. I had a funny thought on my way back to Hawaii recently. I was on the mainland and came back a couple of weeks ago. And I thought, I want to get to know my neighbors better. I mean, some of them I've been getting to know, you know. I know Dennis and his dog Brett, and I've been getting to know the Pomeranian, and I'm getting to know different people who come in to the elevator or hang around the place. But I want to get to know them more. And as I was flying back, I thought, I wonder if anybody notices that I've been gone for 2 weeks. Because there's so many people here, and a lot of us are in high rises. A lot of us sometimes feel disconnected. I go out on my lanai to pray every morning. I won't even say how many hours, but hours every day I have in prayer and meditation. And so as I went out onto my lanai, you know, with this whole frame of mind, wondering, does anybody even notice that I was gone for 2 weeks? Across the street, Dole Street, across the street, okay, I'm on the 8th floor, facing Punahou and Tantalus Mountain. Across the street, there's another high-rise that's 4 or 5 stories high. And every morning, I see a mother and her daughter. She always kisses her goodbye as the daughter goes off to school, and she watches her. And she watches till she leaves the building. And she waves excitedly at her. Every morning I see them. So, my first time back on my lanai during the morning, I'm sitting on my lanai, and I feel energy being directed towards me. And I look down, and they're standing at their banister, and they're waving at me. And I start waving back. And the mother starts to jump up and down. She's so happy. We don't know how we touch other people's lives. You don't know the influence and the ripple effect that you set in motion just by being who you are. You are an important memory in someone's life. You make a difference in someone's life. Someone's life is infinitely richer because of you. You're no small stuff. You're God's stuff. So we're not only remembering those who have touched our lives, we're remembering how we touch other people's lives as well. Remember the gift that you are. Aloha.